Hi, everybody. This is a book talk on the essential Pablo Neruda selected poems. It's cool. What's cool about it is it has the Spanish on the left side and the English on the right side. So if you are a Spanish speaker or you're learning Spanish like I am, then you can use it. You can read both in parallel. So Pablo Neruda is a poet from Chile. From the he published his first he published his first collection of poetry at 13 in a newspaper, and that was serialized. And then he published his first major work at age 19, which is 20 love poems and a song of despair. So I'm going to read one of those. This one is called I Can Write the Saddest Verses, or Tonight I Can Write the Saddest Lines. I can write the saddest verses tonight. Write, for example, the night is full of stars, twinkling blue in the distance. The night wind spins in the sky and sings. I can write the saddest verses tonight. I loved her, and sometimes she loved me too. On nights like this, I held her in my arms. I kissed her so many times beneath the infinite sky. She loved me, and at times I loved her too. How not to have loved her great still eyes? I can write the saddest verses tonight. To think that I don't have her, to feel that I have lost her, to hear the immense night more immense without her, and the verse falls onto my soul like dew onto grass. What difference that my love could not keep her. The night is full of stars and she is not with me. That's all. In the distance someone sings, in the distance. My soul is not at peace with having lost her. As if to bring her closer, my gaze searches for her, my heart searches for her, and she is not with me. The same night that whitens the same trees. We of then are no longer the same. I no longer love her, it's true, but how much I loved her. My voice searched for the wind that would touch her ear. Another's. She will be another's. As before my kisses. Her voice, her bright body, her infinite eyes. I no longer love her, it's true, but maybe I love her. Love is so short and forgetting is so long. Because on nights like this I held her in my arms, my soul is not at peace with having lost her. Though this may be the final sorrow she causes me, and these the last verses I write for her. So that poem I think it's very beautiful. It is I don't know if this is the Song of Despair or if it's one of the love poems from 20 Love Poems and a Song of Despair. But I really like how he uses repetition. I can write the saddest verses tonight, which is then repeated. And certain words and motifs are used or repeated, such as the infinite sky and something else infinite, her infinite eyes. And then there's other repetition like I loved her. I no longer love her, it's true, but I love her. That's repeated. I no longer love her, it's true, but how much I loved her. So it almost has like a villanelle feel where like two lines just keep being repeated and repeated. But it's a little bit looser than that. But it's the imagery is really beautiful. It's kind of like he uses imagery that you wouldn't expect. It's not, the same night that whitens the same trees. Like, how does a night whiten trees? I mean, I guess the moonlight, but it's very evocative and very, like, almost surreal. Okay, so I'm going to read a couple more. So this next poem was, when I was in high school, I was really in love with this girl for a couple years, and she never responded to that. But, I would always complain about it to my friends. And one of my friends was like, hey, you should write her a poem. And here's some Pablo Neruda poetry and use that as he didn't say mentor text, but use that as a mentor text. And it was the first time really reading poetry because I wanted to. Like, I'd read poetry in class, but I saw it as kind of academic. And this was more, like coming from the soul, and it kind of opened my heart up. and I wrote my own bad poetry, or just poetry. There's no bad poetry. So this is the poem that my friend shared with me. This is from 100 Love Sonnets, which is a later work. I don't love you as if you were a rose of salt, topaz, or arrow of carnations that propagate fire. I love you as one loves certain obscure things, secretly, between the shadow and the soul. I love you as the plant that doesn't bloom but carries the light of those flowers hidden within itself. And thanks to your love, the tight aroma that arose from the earth lives dimly in my body. I love you without knowing how or when or from where. I love you directly without problems or pride. I love you like this because I don't know any other way to love, except in this form in which I am not, nor are you. So close that your hand upon my chest is mine, so close that your eyes close with my dreams. And I really like that because it's not academic, like it's not, and it's also not like flowery. It's not like my love is well, it does talk about my love being a rose, but the images are more surreal and not the kind of images that you would expect again. And I really liked the lines, I love you directly without problems or pride. I love you like this because I don't know any other way to love. It just felt very like direct and unpretentious and unflowery, which is what love should be, I think. And the poem actually deliberately sort of plays with these images of flowers. I don't love you as if you're a rose of salt, topaz, or arrow of carnations that propagate fire. So like all these images that are kind of traditionally linked with love, I don't love you in that way. I love you how one loves certain dark things, how secretly between the shadow and the soul. So it's like this unshowy love. I'm just going to read one more. Pablo Neruda was a diplomat of Chile and a senator eventually. And so he was very politically active, even to a fault. Like he was a little bit of a Stalin supporter. Like he was very left-wing, and I think he just got kind of confused and caught up in that whole piece of history. But this is called the United Fruit Company, which is a reference to the United Fruit Company that was set up. And the United Fruit Company was responsible for a whole lot of atrocities. In 1954, the democratically elected Guatemalan government of Jacobo Arbenz Guzman was toppled by U.S.-backed forces in order to create a more cooperative government for the fruit company. And then there was a strike that was put down in Colombia that claimed the lives of anywhere between 47 and 3,000 people who were protesting. And so this poem, that's kind of the backdrop for this poem, the United Fruit Company. When the trumpet sounded, everything on earth was prepared, and Jehovah distributed the word to Coca-Cola Inc., Anaconda, Ford Motors, and other entities. The Fruit Company Inc. reserved the juiciest for itself, the central coast of my land, the sweet waste of America. It rebaptized the land's banana republics, and on the sleeping dead, on the restless heroes who'd conquered greatness, liberty, and flags, it founded a comic opera. It alienated free wills, gave crowns of Caesar as gifts, unsheathed jealousy, attracted the dictatorship of the flies, Trujillo flies, Tachos flies, Correas flies, Martinez flies, Ubico flies, flies soppy with humble blood and marmalade, drunken flies that buzz around common graves, circus flies, learned flies adept at tyranny. The company disembarks among the bloodthirsty flies, brim-filling their boats that slide with the coffee and fruit treasure of our submerged lands like trays. Meanwhile, along the sugared-up abysms of the ports, Indians fall over, buried in the morning mist. A body rolls, a thing without a name, a fallen number. A bunch of dead fruit spills into the pile of rot. So you can just get that rage that, they're propping up dictators, they're propping up Trujillo, the Dominican dictator, and they're doing this all just for profit, just so people can have bananas. So yeah, so great poet. I would definitely use him in a poetry unit. I like that he's not sort of traditional, like in his images. His images are all kind of like things you wouldn't think of, and I think that can be a big inspiration for students. His work also isn't flowery and it's straight to the point. Like there are maybe some words that students wouldn't know, but I think overall they will know most of the words and be able to engage with the poems. I would use it as a mentor text, definitely. For those same reasons, it's a great mentor text for poetry. It's not, it's basically free verse poetry. Like it has a rhythm, but it's not a set rhythm. It's not like a sonnet, or like it doesn't rhyme. Even in Spanish, I don't think any of these poems rhyme. No, I don't think they do. But yeah, I would use it as a mentor text. I would teach it. You could really teach for any age group, but I think probably be better in high school, because the level of English is a little bit maybe more difficult than junior high kids might be prepared for. But I think that they would really enjoy it because, at least for me, when I studied poetry, I have trouble with the syntax. Like Shakespearean poetry, the syntax can be a little bit convoluted. Whereas with this poetry, it's very straightforward and easy to understand the only thing that makes it hard to understand is that sometimes the images are very surreal. But I think that's kind of the fun of reading these poems. So that is the Essential Neruda. I'll be posting this. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments and I will answer them.